The Oxford Vortex. In the twilight hush of an ancient Oxford afternoon, the city's venerable spires and Gothic silhouettes loomed against a sky painted in somber hues of indigo and deep crimson. Beneath the weight of centuries, Oxford's storied streets carried whispers of secrets, half-remembered legends, and architectural marvels that defied both time and the mundane. It was in this ethereal interplay of light and shadow that Thomas Everley, an earnest architecture student with a passion for the arcane and the sublime, found himself drawn inexorably toward destiny. Thomas had always been fascinated by the interplay between form and time. His studies in classical architecture had awakened in him a reverence for structures that bore the testimony of eras past. Yet nothing in his academic pursuits could have prepared him for the fateful day when, while wandering the dim corridors of the Bodleian Library, a labyrinthine repository of forgotten lore, he discovered a relic of a different kind. In a neglected alcove behind a row of dusty manuscripts, his eyes were caught by the glimmer of aged parchment. Almost as if summoned by an unseen hand, he reached out and retrieved the fragile document. Its edges were frayed by time, its ink faded yet determined, and its lines formed intricate diagrams and mysterious symbols that hinted at secrets beyond the ken of ordinary scholarship. For days, Thomas studied the parchment in solitude, poring over each meticulous line and swirling curvature. Slowly, he began to suspect that what he held was no mere architectural treatise or historical curiosity. The blueprints detailed a structure, one that did not appear in any modern map of Oxford, a hidden portal ingeniously concealed within a Gothic edifice whose origins were shrouded in myth and obscurity. The parchment described not only the building's secret chamber but also the mechanism of its activation, a convergence of geometric precision and arcane symbolism that, when set in motion, would open a rift through the fabric of time. In the silent solitude of his modest lodgings, Thomas's mind raced with possibilities. He recalled the tales of Oxford's ancient foundations, the legends of secret societies and whispered traditions that had been passed down through the generations of scholars and architects. The blueprint, rendered in painstaking detail, spoke of an architecture that transcended the ordinary, a structure that bridged the ephemeral gap between past and present, between history and myth. Every measured line and every carefully inscribed rune suggested a connection between the physical edifice and the metaphysical currents of time itself. Under the muted glow of a single oil lamp, Thomas began to prepare. He gathered his notes, his sketchbooks filled with observations, and ventured to the very heart of the city where the blueprint indicated the portal lay hidden. His destination was a towering Gothic building, one whose weathered facade and elaborate stone tracery had long been a silent witness to the passage of countless years. As he approached, the building seemed to exude an aura of quiet mystery, its gargoyles and spires guarding secrets older than the foundations of Oxford itself. Within the building's labyrinthine interior, Thomas moved with reverence and trepidation. The corridors were lined with stone arches and echoing vaults, and every step seemed to resonate with the memories of centuries past. There was a particular chamber, obscured by shadows and neglect, that matched the precise measurements described in the blueprint. His heart pounded with anticipation as he discovered a heavy oak door, its surface etched with symbols that mirrored those on the ancient parchment. Here lay the promise of a portal, one that would lead him beyond the boundaries of conventional time. With the steady resolve born of countless nights spent in study, Thomas set about deciphering the intricate mechanism embedded in the door. He arranged a series of movable stone panels and carefully aligned etch discs according to the instructions revealed by the blueprint. As the final panel slid into place, the chamber filled with an otherworldly radiance, a luminous, pulsating light that seemed to emanate from the very stones. The air grew charged with a mysterious energy, and in that charged silence, the portal stirred awake. A deep tremor shuddered through the building. The ancient stones vibrated as if resonating with the heartbeat of time, and Thomas felt himself caught between awe and an unsettling premonition. In a moment of transcendence, he realized that the portal was not simply a doorway in space. It was a conduit through time, a threshold to epochs long past. As the chamber's light swirled and coalesced into a brilliant vortex of shifting colors, Thomas, compelled by a force he scarcely understood, stepped forward. The instant he crossed the threshold, the world around him dissolved into a cascade of luminescent fragments. The sensation was not of falling but of being gently borne along an endless current, a timeless river flowing through the annals of history. Memories of Oxford's familiar stone streets blurred into visions of ancient landscapes, and the very fabric of reality seemed to unfurl before his eyes. When the vision subsided, Thomas found himself standing in a realm vastly different from the Oxford he had known. The sky above was a pristine vault of blue, unburdened by the weight of modern clouds, and the air smelled of fresh earth and distant oak. Here, in a land that exuded an aura of primordial majesty, he beheld a vista of rolling hills and humble settlements, their thatched roofs and timbered structures evoking a time when Anglo-Saxon traditions still held sway. The architecture of the settlements was simple yet profoundly connected to nature, a living testament to a people whose lives were interwoven with the rhythms of the earth. In this nascent world, Thomas wandered amid the emerging structures and natural landscapes with a blend of scientific curiosity and almost sacred wonder. Every stone, every carved woodbeam seemed imbued with the memory of human endeavor and the echoes of rituals long since forgotten. He perceived that the designs he had once admired in the library now manifested in living form. The geometry and proportion of these ancient buildings were not mere aesthetic choices but expressions of a deeper, almost mystical order. The lines of the blueprint had come to life in ways that defied the ordinary logic of his scholarly pursuits. As he traversed the countryside, Thomas encountered the silent monuments of human aspiration. Communal halls built around blazing hearths, sanctuaries constructed with deliberate precision to harness the forces of nature, and winding paths that led to quiet groves imbued with the spirit of ancestral memory. Every structure, every carved detail spoke of a civilization in harmonious dialogue with the universe. A civilization that, like the architecture itself, was as much a creation of art and symbolism as it was of practical necessity. Yet beneath the apparent simplicity of these early settlements lay hints of an emerging complexity. Subtle signs, the careful orientation of buildings with celestial bodies, the recurrent use of specific geometric patterns in stone carvings, suggested that these people, though humble in means, were deeply connected to the metaphysical forces that shaped their world. Thomas's mind buzzed with the implications of what he observed. The ancient architects, driven by an intuitive understanding of time and space, had built not merely for shelter but as a means to commune with the cosmos. For Thomas, each step in this strange and timeless realm was a revelation. The boundaries between art, science, and spirituality blurred into a seamless tapestry of experience. The portal, he realized, had granted him not only a passage into the past, but also an invitation to witness the profound unity of human creativity and the natural order. And yet, a subtle disquiet lingered at the edge of his awareness, a sensation that the forces he now encountered were as perilous as they were magnificent. There was a latent power in the interplay of stone and spirit, in the very geometry of existence, that hinted at consequences beyond mortal reckoning. As the day waned and the sun dipped low behind distant hills, Thomas sought shelter near a meandering brook, where the water's gentle murmur provided a balm for his turbulent thoughts. In that quiet solitude, he began to sketch what he saw in his mind's eye: the graceful arcs of ancient doorways, the intricate tracery of early carvings, the way light played upon the rough-hewn surfaces of buildings imbued with centuries of silent memory. His sketches were a record of his journey, a testament to a reality where architecture was not merely constructed but grown from the very fabric of time itself. There, under the vast expanse of an unclouded sky, Thomas resolved to uncover the deeper mystery that had drawn him into this vortex of history. He was determined to learn the secrets of the blueprint, the underlying logic that had made it possible to open a portal to this primordial past. The enigmatic connection between architecture, time, and the fragile boundaries of sanity beckoned him onward. Though the land before him was both wondrous and strange, it also carried an ineffable warning that in tampering with the delicate interplay of epochs, one might awaken forces capable of unmaking reality. In that reflective twilight, as the murmurs of ancient earth merged with the quiet rhythm of his own heartbeat, Thomas felt the weight of destiny settle upon him. The portal had been but the first step in a journey that promised revelations and perils in equal measure. Beyond the gentle hills and meandering streams lay an entire tapestry of history waiting to be explored. A continuum where every stone and every edifice told a story of human ambition, spiritual yearning, and the inexorable march of time. And as the darkness deepened and stars began to punctuate the velvet sky, he vowed to follow the signs and pursue the enigma wherever it might lead. Thus, in the stillness of that ancient evening, the first ripple in the vortex of time stirred, heralding a quest that would challenge not only his understanding of architecture and history, but also the very nature of reality itself. The path ahead was fraught with mystery and danger, yet imbued with the promise of uncovering secrets that had lain dormant since the dawn of civilization. With resolve etched on his face and wonder in his eyes, Thomas Everly stepped forth into the unknown, his every heartbeat echoing the timeless rhythm of a world reborn. Thomas found himself emerging from the swirling luminescence of the portal into a world that bore little resemblance to the gentle pastoral scene of his earliest arrival. The atmosphere was charged with a vibrancy both archaic and mysterious, and the very air seemed to vibrate with the echoes of long-forgotten chants. He now wandered amid winding cobblestone lanes, where each narrow passage and hidden courtyard revealed the soul of a medieval city, one whose every brick and carved detail testified to an era where art, science, and the divine were inextricably entwined. In the heart of the city, towering Gothic cathedrals soared against a sky heavy with the promise of dusk. Their pointed arches and delicate tracery caught the fading light, scattering it into prisms of color upon ancient stone floors. Thomas's steps led him along thoroughfares that wound between humble dwellings and grand edifices alike. Every structure was imbued with an almost palpable sense of purpose, as if the architects had not merely built for shelter, but to capture a cosmic order transcending time. The rich, loamy aroma of damp earth mingled with the heady tang of incense drifting from the sacred precincts. In quiet corners of cloistered abbeys, illuminated manuscripts rested in time-worn libraries. Each vellum page, adorned with meticulous calligraphy and intricate marginalia, resonated with the accumulated wisdom and fervent prayers of generations. As Thomas perused these silent records of devotion and knowledge, he became increasingly aware that the medieval mindset viewed architecture not as a passive backdrop for human activity, but as an active participant in the sacred interplay between nature, spirit, and destiny. One evening, as twilight deepened and a gentle mist began to envelope the labyrinthine streets, Thomas's wandering led him to a secluded courtyard hidden behind a weathered stone wall. Here, away from the clamor of bustling marketplaces, he discovered an unassuming yet exquisitely crafted chapel. Its facade was decorated with carvings that echoed the symbols and geometric motifs of the ancient blueprint he had earlier studied, suggestions of hidden knowledge and a design that transcended ordinary mortals' understanding. The stone itself seemed to hum with a quiet energy, the carefully etched patterns acting as both a record and a key to a deeper, arcane order. In the soft glow of flickering torches that illuminated the narrow passage leading into the chapel, Thomas felt the convergence of centuries in every surface. The interplay of light and shadow upon the carved stone produced a tapestry of forms that appeared to shift and breathe with a life of its own. It was as if the chapel were a microcosm of the universe, a place where the finite and the infinite met, bound by the unspoken language of geometry and symbolism. Each sculpted relief, each delicate arc, bore silent witness to a time when human aspiration was suffused with reverence for the mysterious forces that governed existence. As days turned into weeks, Thomas roamed farther afield, venturing into the myriad neighborhoods of the medieval world. He witnessed a bustling market square where merchants, clad in homespun garments, peddled goods beneath brightly colored banners. Yet even amid the everyday bustle of trade and conversation, there was a rhythm to life, a pulse of existence that matched the measured cadence of chiseled stone and stained glass. The city itself seemed to be alive with secrets, hidden niches behind ancient doorways, carved inscriptions on worn pillars, and the quiet murmur of prayers rising from secluded chapels. All of these details wove together a grand narrative, one in which each edifice and every meticulously placed stone was part of a larger, ineffable design. It was in this convergence of art, ritual, and human aspiration that Thomas began to understand the true nature of the blueprint's legacy. The medieval builders were not simply craftsmen. They were visionaries who saw in stone a means to capture and channel the intangible. Their work was governed by the same geometric principles that underpinned the very structure of the cosmos. The arches and vaults of their constructions were arranged with such precision that they evoked the symmetry and balance of celestial bodies, a silent affirmation that human creativity, when aligned with the natural order, could mirror the divine. Yet, beneath this aesthetic harmony lay a latent tension, a fragile balance that tethered the realm of the known to that of the ineffable. In every meticulously designed window, in every spiral column and carved frieze, there existed an undercurrent of power potent enough to unsettle the boundaries between order and chaos. Thomas sensed that the intricate interplay between human ingenuity and the elemental forces of the universe was a delicate one. The same geometry that granted these structures their majestic beauty also rendered them vulnerable to disruptions in the cosmic order. In the hidden recesses of ancient crypts and beneath the vaulted ceilings of grand monastic halls, he could almost perceive the dormant stirrings of energies that might, if provoked, awaken in unexpected and potentially calamitous ways. On one particularly still morning, as a pale light crept over the city's ancient ramparts, Thomas found himself before a venerable abbey whose stone facade bore mysterious inscriptions. Weathered by time yet resolute in its design, the abbey's structure conveyed a profound sense of permanence amid the ephemeral nature of mortal affairs. The inscriptions etched into its walls were written in a language that defied the common tongue, a script so archaic that its meaning hovered at the edge of comprehension. As Thomas traced the delicate curves and angular lines with his fingertips, he felt as though he were unlocking a dialogue between the builders of old and the universe itself. In that silent communion, he understood that every line carved into the stone was a testament to a cosmic truth, that the passage of time was not linear but a swirling vortex where past, present, and future converged in an endless dance. During his solitary wanderings, Thomas increasingly perceived the medieval world as a stage upon which the eternal drama of human existence was enacted. The grand structures he encountered were not inert relics of a bygone era but active participants in a continuum, a seamless interweaving of myth, memory, and meaning. Every ruin, every well-tended garden, every carved symbol on a stone pillar spoke of lives lived in communion with a force far greater than the sum of human ambition. In the interplay between shadow and light across ancient courtyards, he discerned echoes of both celestial order and impending entropy, a duality that resonated with the core of his own being. Amid this profound interplay, Thomas also came to feel the subtle pull of destiny. The portal that had ferried him into these epochs was not merely a gateway through space and time. It was an invitation to join a grand narrative that spanned the millennia. Each step he took was marked by a deepening awareness that his journey was part of an intricate tapestry, one that connected the feats of ancient builders to the aspirations of future generations. The very stones under his feet, worn smooth by the passage of countless feet over the centuries, bore silent testimony to the unyielding persistence of hope, art, and human creativity. Yet, even as Thomas marveled at the beauty and complexity of the medieval world, an undercurrent of foreboding lay just beyond his peripheral vision. There was an almost tangible charge in the atmosphere, a reminder that the very forces which allowed for such exquisite creation also harbored the potential for unraveling. The precision of Gothic arches, the calculated symmetry of monastic cloisters, and the deliberate placement of every sculpted detail were all part of a delicate balance. Disturb that balance, and the structures might reveal their hidden, tumultuous nature, a reminder that the interplay between order and chaos was an eternal, inescapable truth. In the solitude of one crisp dawn, as a gentle mist began to curl around the spires and buttresses of an ancient city wall, Thomas paused before a time-worn stone pillar in a quiet, forgotten alcove of the abbey. Here, etched deep into the weathered surface, was a sequence of symbols that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. Though eroded by the relentless march of time, the inscription exuded a quiet power, a resonance that hinted at long-lost secrets and the undying spirit of the age. Standing there, Thomas experienced a moment of clarity, an understanding that the past was not dead or unreachable, but was woven into the very fabric of the present. The energy encoded in that solitary stone spoke of a continuum in which every generation was both a custodian and a creator of meaning. As the days unfolded in a measured rhythm, a cadence marked by the steady tolling of church bells and the rhythmic hum of daily ritual, Thomas's thoughts grew ever more intertwined with the mysteries of this medieval convergence. He realized that his journey was as much an exploration of the inner landscape as it was a voyage through the physical remnants of history. The interplay of geometry, spirituality, and memory that defined the era was not simply an external phenomenon. It mirrored the intricate architecture of his own mind. In every carved detail, every deliberate angle, he discerned reflections of the eternal questions that had spurred his lifelong quest for understanding. What is the nature of time? How does human creativity connect with the cosmos? And in what measure might one's inner vision reshape the boundaries of reality itself? The medieval world, with all its paradoxes and profound beauty, became for Thomas a living canvas on which the story of existence was inscribed. Every step through its winding streets and every pause before its solemn monuments deepened his conviction that history was not a collection of static memories, but a dynamic, ever-evolving interplay of past and future, a ceaseless dialogue between the finite and the infinite. And so, with each measured stride, he pressed onward, driven by a compulsion to decipher not only the physical language of stone and light, but also the metaphysical code that bound every era in a single, timeless narrative. In that fragile balance of wonder and disquiet, Thomas Everleigh's journey continued, a solitary pilgrimage into the heart of a world where art, memory, and cosmic destiny converged. As the medieval sun ascended into a sky streaked with the hues of both hope and mystery, he carried with him the silent promise that every ancient edifice, every hidden inscription, and every carefully chiseled curve was a stepping stone toward a grander revelation. The blueprint that had first beckoned him was now manifest in the very soul of the medieval realm, a realm where architecture was both the language of the divine and the archive of humanity's eternal striving. Thus, beneath the enduring gaze of weathered saints and amidst the whispered prayers of a bygone age, Thomas moved forward into the unfolding mystery. With every passing moment, the convergence of history, art, and destiny revealed new layers of meaning, each as delicate and profound as the intricate patterns carved into the ancient stone around him. Thomas's passage through the portal deposited him into a realm unrecognizable from the serene past of medieval cathedrals and whispered incantations of sacred stone. Before him unfurled an epoch of steam, iron, and innovation, a vast industrial landscape that surged forward with an unyielding pulse. The city, once defined solely by its graceful arches and meticulously carved facades, now wore a new countenance, one of brick, steel, and glass, where every edifice testified to mankind's ceaseless pursuit of progress. A pervasive haze, tinted with coal dust and the acrid tang of burning oil, shrouded the transformed Oxford. The horizon was dominated by towering smokestacks and colossal factory complexes whose chimneys belched dark plumes into the overcast sky. Yet even amidst this tumult of industry, remnants of the old world persisted. Gothic spires and weathered stone structures still punctuated the skyline, their timeless geometry standing in quiet defiance against the relentless march of modernity. For Thomas, the sight evoked an unbidden comparison. Here, the ancient language of sacred proportion met the cold, mechanical logic of industry, a convergence of aesthetics that both inspired and unsettled him. Navigating the transformed streets, Thomas marveled at the interplay of light upon metallic surfaces. As dawn broke, the early sun's rays illuminated riveted steel beams and intricately patterned brickwork. The rhythmic clatter of machinery and the hiss of steam served as the heartbeat of this new age. Along broad avenues, factories and warehouses sprawled in regimented rows, their angular forms and repetitive motifs suggesting an almost obsessive devotion to efficiency. And yet, beneath this rigor lay echoes of a deeper order. In the precise alignment of girders and the measured repetition of industrial patterns, Thomas discerned hints of the same cosmic geometry that had first called him to Oxford's ancient secrets. Amid the clamor of progress, Thomas found himself drawn to the soul of the industrial labyrinth. He wandered through bustling districts where the steady hum of mechanical contrivances resonated alongside the human pulse. The city vibrated with a dual cadence, the determined rhythm of innovation and the soft, persistent echo of history. Everywhere he looked, evidence of mankind's ingenuity was visible. Gigantic machinery converting raw ore into refined metal, sprawling workshops where the air shimmered with heat and sparks, and the organized chaos of labor that imbued the streets with a tangible energy. In one expansive factory complex, Thomas paused to study a vast network of pipes and conveyor belts that wound through the building like the intricate circulatory system of a living organism. Each mechanical element played its part in a precise choreography of production. The precision of the apparatus, engineered to harness raw elemental forces, mirrored the detailed calculations of ancient architects. In every rivet and bolt, in the methodical repetition of structural motifs, he sensed the quiet whisper of a timeless blueprint, an eternal order that transcended the centuries. The same principles that had guided the medieval artisans now found expression in the innovative designs of modern engineers, binding the disparate eras into a continuous narrative of creation and transformation. As Thomas continued his exploration, he encountered structures that evoked an unexpected blend of utilitarian design and artistic aspiration. In a modest district on the outskirts of the industrial quarter, he discovered a building that, while constructed primarily of brick and reinforced concrete, bore subtle ornamental flourishes reminiscent of a bygone era. The facade, though stark and unadorned in its overall simplicity, featured a series of rounded arches and delicately proportioned columns, hints of the old world's aesthetic sensibilities integrated into the new. It was as if the spirit of the ancient blueprint had permeated the modern vernacular, asserting that beauty need not be sacrificed at the altar of progress. At dusk, when the city was bathed in a soft, amber glow from gaslights and early electric fixtures, Thomas found a moment of repose atop a narrow, winding staircase leading to a hidden rooftop garden. Here, amidst carefully cultivated flower beds and clusters of resilient greenery, the stark industrial landscape softened into a quiet testament to nature's endurance. The garden, an oasis suspended above the urban din, offered a meditative space where the clamor of factories and the relentless cadence of modern life gave way to a more reflective, organic rhythm. In the gentle rustling of leaves and the distant murmur of machinery below, Thomas contemplated the enduring interplay between nature and human endeavor, a dialogue as old as time itself. Seated on a worn stone bench amid the greenery, Thomas allowed his thoughts to wander. He recalled the ancient inscriptions he had once traced by candlelight in forgotten abbeys and the subtle geometries that had animated the majestic cathedrals of the medieval world. Now, confronted by the imposing scale of industrial construction, he perceived a paradoxical unity. The geometric principles that had once defined the sacred spaces of a bygone era now appeared in the regimented layout of factories and the disciplined lines of newly forged materials. This uncanny continuity stirred within him a profound awareness. The eternal laws of form and proportion were immutable, transcending the material of their expression. Whether chiseled in ancient stone or cast in molten iron, the underlying harmony of the cosmos persevered, a silent refrain amid the clamor of progress. Yet, as the industrial age unfolded around him, Thomas could not ignore the subtle tension that pulsed beneath its surface. The dynamic energy of innovation was a double-edged sword, a force capable of elevating human creativity while also threatening to unmoor the delicate balance of order and chaos. In the rhythmic cadence of factory whistles and the mechanical pulse of machinery, he sensed a latent potential for both creation and dissolution. The very precision that rendered these structures magnificent also harbored the possibility of catastrophic disarray. It was as if the relentless drive of industrialization, while propelling society forward, also risked disturbing the ancient equilibrium that had governed the interplay of nature, art, and time. In the quiet hours of an overcast afternoon, Thomas ventured into one of the city's aged industrial quarters, a labyrinth of narrow alleyways and forgotten courtyards where the relics of an earlier phase of modernization lay intermingled with newer constructions. Here, the remnants of early technological endeavors, rusted machinery, weathered signage, and faded murals, told a story of a society in flux. The crumbling facades and worn surfaces were not simply the detritus of obsolescence. Rather, they resonated with a quiet dignity, bearing witness to the inexorable march of time and the ceaseless reinvention of human expression. In these spaces, where history and innovation commingled in delicate balance, Thomas felt the subtle tug of the ancient blueprint, a call to discern the deeper patterns that connected the disparate epochs. Everywhere he turned, Thomas found that the industrial era was not a break from the past, but an evolution of it. The angular lines of machine-made structures, the systematic repetition of design elements, and the disciplined rigor of modern construction all bore traces of the same timeless geometry that had governed ancient edifices. This realization imbued him with a renewed sense of purpose. The portal that had first brought him to Oxford had not merely opened a door to a single historical moment. It had invited him to witness the unfolding continuum of human aspiration, a grand narrative in which every age, regardless of its outward appearance, was bound by the same immutable laws of proportion, harmony, and cosmic resonance. As night descended upon the city, the industrial skyline was transformed into a constellation of luminous beacons. The interplay of artificial light against the lingering gloom created an almost otherworldly panorama, one where the stark modernity of steel and concrete was interwoven with the enduring vestiges of the past. In this luminous tableau, Thomas perceived an allegory for the human condition, a reminder that progress, however relentless, remained inextricably linked to the eternal forces that shaped the universe. The industrial age, with all its contradictions and innovations, was but a chapter in a vast, ceaseless saga, an echo of the ancient truth that had always governed the dance between order and chaos. Emboldened by this insight, Thomas resolved to delve deeper into the mysteries of this era. He sought to explore the hidden interstices of the industrial landscape, to decipher the secret geometries that lay behind the facades of modernity, and to uncover the latent energies that, if stirred unwittingly, could disrupt the precarious balance between innovation and entropy. Each step he took was measured, each observation a carefully catalogued note in the unfolding chronicle of a world that spanned millennia. The portal's silent promise that architecture, time, and the human spirit were woven together by an enduring, mysterious code propelled him onward, even as the industrial epoch revealed both its magnificent potential and its shadowed perils. Thus, amid the rhythmic clamor of machinery, the soft glow of gaslights, and the resolute presence of history's echoes, Thomas Everly prepared to continue his journey. In the realm of iron and steam, where every rivet and beam testified to the ingenuity of modern man, he saw not merely an era of progress but an enduring continuum, a transient yet essential phase in the eternal dialogue between the known and the ineffable. The ancient blueprint, once etched onto brittle parchment in a forgotten library, had found renewed expression in the modern edifices that soared against the industrial sky. And so, with the twilight of the old world behind him and the luminous promise of the future ahead, Thomas stepped resolutely into the unfolding mystery, determined to unravel the cosmic design that threaded together every age. Thomas's latest emergence from the portal found him no longer anchored in a single, familiar epoch. Instead, he was thrust into a space where history bled together, where the meticulous geometry of ancient cathedrals, the robust lines of industrial architecture, and hints of visionary forms yet to come all coexisted in a dizzying array. The air itself shimmered with an iridescent glow, as if reality had become a canvas upon which the past, present, and future painted themselves simultaneously. Here, the known cadence of time was disrupted. Moments flickered and overlapped, creating a complex mosaic in which every step forward was both an arrival and a departure. The landscape was an arresting panorama of contrasts. On one side, Thomas could discern the weathered stone arches and spired silhouettes of medieval fortresses, their details softened by the patina of centuries. On another, towering modern constructs, gleaming towers of glass and steel, reflected a light that hinted at futuristic promise. Even further afield, ethereal structures of unknown design loomed, composed of elements that defied conventional physics, their forms shifting with an almost organic fluidity. Overhead, the sky was not a single uninterrupted dome but a series of overlapping celestial layers. Multiple orbs of light, some reminiscent of an ancient sun and others like distant stars from a time yet to be, cast intermingling beams across the land. As Thomas advanced through this interstitial realm, he noted that every surface, every carved detail in the stone or molded beam of metal carried inscriptions of an ancient language, a geometric code that resonated with the very pulse of the universe. The ground itself seemed alive with symbols etched by a primordial hand. Spirals, intersecting lines, and arches intertwined to form a blueprint that governed the delicate balance of creation and entropy. He recognized these motifs from his earlier studies, evidence that the underlying principles of proportion and harmony, so cherished by architects of every age, were universal truths that transcended the limits of any one period. In the midst of this temporal convergence, Thomas came upon a vast circular plaza that exuded a magnetic pull. At its center stood an imposing obelisk crafted from a stone that shimmered with an inner light. The monument was adorned with cryptic symbols that pulsed in a rhythm echoing the heartbeat of the cosmos. Here, at this nexus, the energies of overlapping eras coalesced into a palpable force. The obelisk appeared to be both a relic and a beacon, a marker of the interstitial zone where history's threads were woven together. As Thomas approached, the ground vibrated subtly beneath his feet, and the voices of time, the echoes of long-forgotten chants, the silent murmur of ancient prayers, and the hum of industrial engines, merged into a single, resonant tone that filled the air. The plaza itself was alive with an energy that was at once ordered and chaotic. In one fleeting vision, Thomas saw the silhouette of a regal figure whose bearing recalled the heroes and sovereigns of old, perhaps a reflection of King Alfred the Great or another legend born of British lore. In another, the scene shifted abruptly to reveal an assembly of scholars, their eyes alight with fervent study as they inscribed formulas and diagrams onto surfaces that glowed with phosphorescent light. These manifestations were not tangible presences but rather fleeting impressions, a palimpsest of eras that had once defined the city and its mythos. The overlap of these impressions, woven together by the unseen hand of the cosmic blueprint, lent the plaza an aura of both reverence and latent peril. Above this convergence, dark swirling vortices appeared in the upper layers of the sky, enigmatic anomalies reminiscent of black holes, which siphoned light and distorted the passage of time. These swirling darknesses were far from mere astronomical phenomena. They were ominous reminders of the instability inherent in a reality where boundaries had been erased. Their gravitational pull seemed capable of unraveling the very fabric of existence, drawing in the energies of creation and threatening to plunge the converged realm into chaos. Thomas felt an instinctive caution as he observed these anomalies, understanding that they were the counterbalance to the ordered light emanating from the obelisk, a dynamic interplay between structure and entropy. As he wandered further, the shifting ground led him into a secluded grove at the edge of the converged zone, a sanctuary where the tumult of overlapping times had softened into an almost meditative quiet. Here, ancient trees with gnarled trunks and sprawling branches formed a natural cathedral, their leaves whispering secrets that transcended millennia. The soil was thick with moss, and delicate wildflowers emerged in the dappled sunlight, symbols of nature's persistent beauty amid temporal flux. In the heart of the grove, Thomas paused, closing his eyes to the dissonant chorus of the outside world. In that silence, he sensed the underlying continuity of all things, the immutable laws of geometry, the cyclical nature of existence, and the delicate balance between creation and dissolution. Within this natural alcove, Thomas's thoughts turned inward. He recalled the rigorous studies and countless sketches that had once connected him to Oxford's storied past. The intricate arches of medieval cathedrals, the systematic patterns of industrial structures, and even the speculative designs of future edifices had all spoken to him of an eternal order, a grand design that was inscribed not only in stone and steel but in the very essence of time. Here, in the quiet sanctuary, the language of that order revealed itself in the rustle of leaves and the subtle play of shadow and light. Every natural contour, every ripple in a nearby stream, carried with it the echoes of the geometric harmonies that governed the universe. In that moment, Thomas understood that the temporal convergence was not a random collision of eras but the unfolding of a cosmic dialogue, a conversation between the myriad voices of time. Yet, even as he embraced these revelations, Thomas felt the weight of impending consequence. The convergence was as fragile as it was wondrous, a delicate equilibrium maintained by forces that, if disturbed, could unleash a cascade of chaos. The black hole, like vortices overhead, pulsed with a foreboding energy, their presence a stark warning that the balance between order and disorder could easily be upset. Every step taken in this liminal space carried the risk of triggering a chain reaction that might unravel the tapestry of time. The obelisk, with its rhythmic pulsing, seemed to offer both reassurance and a solemn charge, a silent reminder that the cosmic blueprint demanded both respect and careful stewardship. Driven by an inexorable urge to decipher these complex mysteries, Thomas resumed his journey, now with renewed determination. He began to trace the intricate patterns etched into the ground, using his knowledge of ancient geometry as a guide. Each mark, every interlacing line, was a clue, a fragment of a universal script that spanned not just centuries, but the very dimensions of existence. The symbols spoke of cycles and intersections, of moments where disparate realities could merge and diverge, forming a labyrinth of possibilities. Thomas's mind raced as he pieced together the fragments, slowly constructing an understanding of the profound connections that bound all eras together. Wandering the converged realm, Thomas encountered scenes that defied singular explanation. At one juncture, he found himself before an enormous mosaic embedded in a stone wall, a living map that depicted swirling galaxies, interlocking arches, and luminous pathways that seemed to lead to realms both familiar and unknown. The mosaic, crafted with a precision that belied its apparent antiquity, illustrated the continuous interplay of creation and entropy. In its patterns, Thomas discerned echoes of the designs that had once graced the halls of ancient monasteries and the blueprints that had guided the constructions of modern industry. The artistry of the mosaic was a testament to a timeless vision, a vision that recognized that every era, no matter how disparate, contributed to the evolving story of the cosmos. In the hours that followed, as the light shifted and the multiple layers of day and night intermingled overhead, Thomas felt a profound transformation stirring within him. The experience of traversing the temporal convergence had altered his perception of time from a linear progression to a living, breathing entity, one that was at once chaotic and ordered, ephemeral and eternal. His sketches and notes, once confined to the meticulous details of stone and mortar, now expanded to embrace a universal symphony of patterns and energies. Each observation reinforced the conviction that architecture was not merely the art of constructing physical edifices, but the manifestation of cosmic principles, a language written in the very fabric of reality. The final realization that dawned upon him was as clear as it was unsettling. His journey through Oxford's hidden portal was not simply an exploration of the past or a study of physical forms. It was an odyssey into the heart of existence itself, a quest to unearth the ancient code that bound all things together, from the smallest carved stone to the grandest celestial formation. The convergence of eras was the external expression of that code, a visible, tangible record of the eternal dialogue between order and chaos. And within this intermingling, Thomas perceived his own destiny, a role as both witness and guardian of a cosmic balance that, if lost, could unmake the very structure of time. As twilight deepened into a luminous dusk where the layered lights of multiple epochs coexisted in a fragile equilibrium, Thomas stood once more before the ancient obelisk in the central plaza. The monument's symbols glowed with renewed intensity, as if acknowledging his presence and the insights he had gained. In that silent communion, the converged voices of history, the resolute certainty of ancient architects, the innovative spirit of modern engineers, and the visionary whispers of futures uncharted, merged into a single, transcendent call. With a measured step, he resolved to continue his quest, to delve deeper into the intricacies of the cosmic blueprint, and to safeguard the delicate balance that sustained this wondrous, if perilous, tapestry of time. Thomas's passage beyond the converged realm marked a subtle but profound shift in the nature of his journey. The temporal mosaic he had traversed, a realm where medieval spires, industrial behemoths, and futuristic silhouettes danced in an intricate ballet, gave way to a quieter, introspective landscape. Here, the boundaries between self and cosmos blurred, and the interplay of ancient geometry and cosmic energy resonated deep within his being. Each footstep on the uneven ground, etched with primordial symbols and fractal patterns, echoed the unspoken language of creation, inviting him to decipher the eternal code that underlay all of existence. The path before him unfurled as a long, sinuous corridor of light and shadow. This passage was lined with monumental arches and vaults that, though they bore the patina of countless ages, shone with an inner luminescence. The surfaces of these arches were inscribed with intricate motifs, spirals intertwining with straight-edged angles, arcs melding into precise circles that pulsed in synchrony with a rhythm that Thomas felt more than heard. As he advanced, the very air vibrated with the silent harmonies of an ancient song, a cosmic resonance that suggested every element in the universe was connected by a single, immutable law of proportion and balance. In this liminal corridor, time appeared to fold upon itself. Thomas's thoughts, once tethered to the linear progression of past, present, and future, now swirled in a confluence of memories and possibilities. With every measured step, he sensed the presence of his former selves, reflections from the days of Gothic cathedrals, the clangor of industrial workshops, and even the ephemeral whispers of future architects who had yet to leave their mark on the world. The echoes of these myriad existences merged into a gentle chorus that guided him onward, reinforcing his conviction that the universe was an endless tapestry woven from both the tangible and the ineffable. The corridor eventually opened onto a vast, circular sanctuary, a chamber that seemed to exist outside the conventional constraints of space. The floor, a mosaic of countless interlocking pieces, depicted a cosmic map replete with celestial bodies, spiraling galaxies, and interwoven geometric lattices. At the center of this chamber rose a massive dais of smooth, reflective stone, upon which lay an ornate instrument of unknown origin. Its design was mesmerizing, a series of concentric rings intersected by radiating lines, each ring inscribed with symbols that shifted subtly as if alive. Thomas recognized in this contraption the crystallization of the blueprint he had pursued for so long, a tangible manifestation of the cosmic order that underpinned every edifice and every moment of existence. Standing before the dais, Thomas felt an overwhelming unity between the inner workings of his soul and the vast mechanisms of the cosmos. He approached with a measured reverence, his eyes tracing the intricate patterns that adorned the stone. Each mark and curve told a story of cycles and transitions, of creation born from chaos and of renewal emerging from decay. The instrument, as if aware of his presence, emitted a soft, radiant glow that bathed the chamber in a gentle light. In that luminous moment, Thomas perceived a transformation within himself. The disparate threads of his journey, once scattered across the realms of history, were now coalescing into a single, radiant vision, a synthesis of experience and insight. As the radiant glow intensified, Thomas's mind expanded to encompass the totality of the cosmic narrative. He saw, in fleeting bursts of clarity, the original architects of ancient Oxford, visionaries who had embedded their hopes, dreams, and secret knowledge into the very stones of their creations. He witnessed the tireless labor of industrial workers whose pragmatic ingenuity had harnessed nature's raw forces to forge new worlds. And he glimpsed abstract, almost surreal designs of the future, where innovation and artistry merged to create structures that defied mortal expectation. Each vision was a testament to the enduring power of the cosmic blueprint, a reminder that the essence of creation remained constant even as its expressions evolved through the ages. Within this sacred sanctuary, Thomas experienced a profound communion with the underlying forces of the universe. The instrument before him, with its living geometry and resonant symbols, became the focal point of his meditative quest. In silent communion with the radiant patterns, he began to trace their forms in his mind's eye, reconstructing the universal language that had, in subtle ways, guided every act of creation. With every internal sketch and every mental calculation, he discovered that the laws governing the physical world were inseparable from those of the spirit, a realization that deepened his understanding of the intricate balance between order and chaos. The chamber, bathed in the interplay of light and shadow, offered Thomas not only revelations of external forms, but also insights into his own evolving nature. The steady pulse of the cosmic rhythm, as captured by the instrument's glowing inscriptions, merged with the cadence of his heartbeat. In that harmonious convergence, he felt both the weight and the liberation of infinite possibility. The knowledge that he was part of an eternal continuum, a living link in a chain stretching back to the dawn of time and forward to realms yet uncharted, filled him with a serene determination. The blueprint, once a mysterious parchment discovered in an ancient library, now revealed itself as the living essence of all that had been, all that was, and all that ever would be. In the quiet culmination of his journey through the sanctuary, Thomas knelt before the reflective dais, allowing the radiant energy to infuse him with its timeless wisdom. The visions of bygone eras, the industrial clamor, and the ephemeral whispers of future innovations converged within him, forging a deep understanding that transcended the physical and the temporal. He realized that the cosmic synthesis was not a destination but an ongoing process, a continuous act of creation, deconstruction, and reassembly that defined the very nature of existence. The sacred geometry he had come to revere was the silent architect of all that was and all that would be, a unifying force that rendered every moment a masterpiece of design and destiny. With the echoes of the cosmic blueprint reverberating in his soul, Thomas rose from his contemplative repose. The radiant instrument, having imparted its ancient message, slowly dimmed, its symbols now inscribed indelibly upon the canvas of his memory. The vast sanctuary around him seemed to breathe with newfound clarity, each mosaic tile and carved inscription a reminder of the intricate balance that maintained the fabric of time. Renewed in purpose and enlightened by the cosmic synthesis, he stepped away from the dais, ready to continue his journey, not merely as a wanderer through epochs, but as a guardian of the eternal design that linked every stone, every structure, and every heartbeat of the universe. Thus, in that hallowed moment of unity between self and cosmos, Thomas Everly embraced the realization that his quest was far greater than the pursuit of architectural secrets. It was an odyssey into the very heart of creation. Every age he had encountered, every geometric pattern he had studied, and every fleeting vision of human ingenuity had led him to this singular, transformative truth, that the language of the universe was written in the immutable code of form, proportion, and harmony. And with this truth kindling a steady flame within his spirit, he resolved to safeguard the delicate balance between order and entropy, ensuring that the cosmic blueprint would endure through the endless march of time. In the deep stillness that followed the luminous communion within the sanctum, Thomas found himself drawn inexorably back along a path that wound toward the city from which his journey had first begun. The corridor of radiant stone and pulsating symbols slowly yielded to a familiar landscape. The ancient arches of Oxford's venerable halls, the narrow lanes bathed in a gentle dusk, and the storied spires that had once whispered secrets only to those with a longing for the arcane. Yet nothing was as it had been. Every brick, every carved detail, now shimmered with the resonance of the cosmic design that had so completely redefined his understanding of existence. As he retraced his steps, the memories of his earlier travels, the medieval courtyards alive with the chants of forgotten prayers, the mechanical heartbeat of the industrial age, and the swirling vistas of converged time, merged with the present. The tapestry of his experiences wove itself into the fabric of Oxford's familiar stone, as though the city itself had been waiting, in silent anticipation, for the return of its reluctant guardian. The ancient blueprint that had first beckoned him in the quiet recesses of a neglected library now seemed to pulse at the very heart of the city, a latent, vibrant force that threaded through every alley, every vaulted ceiling, every weathered facade. With each step along the worn cobblestones, Thomas sensed a transformation taking root within him. No longer was he merely a seeker of architectural secrets. He had become an emissary of the cosmic order, entrusted with the task of preserving the delicate balance between creation and entropy. His mind, once limited to the measured precision of geometry and the ordered language of stone, now embraced a broader vision, one in which the timeless laws of proportion and harmony resonated with the ineffable rhythms of the universe. In every ripple of the river Isis, in every pattern cast by the interplay of shadow and light upon ancient walls, he perceived the silent echo of that immutable code. Returning to Oxford was an act of both restitution and renewal. The familiar spires and cloisters of the old university were not mere relics of bygone scholarship. They had become living monuments to the eternal dialogue between human aspiration and cosmic order. Thomas wandered through sunlit quadrangles and along corridors steeped in centuries of thought, each step stirring a sense of profound responsibility. He recalled the moment, in the quiet sanctuary of the converged realm, when the radiant instrument had revealed to him that every act of creation was but a note in a vast symphony, a song whose melody was woven through the epochs. That revelation had forever altered the way he saw the world. Now, as he moved among the familiar edifices of Oxford, he felt the pulse of that universal harmony guiding his every thought and action. In the soft light of early morning, beneath a sky brushed with the gentle hues of awakening, Thomas made his way to a secluded alcove of the Bodleian Library. Here, amid the quiet rustle of pages and the soft murmur of scholarly contemplation, he sought to reconcile the fragments of his cosmic vision with the tangible reality of his academic pursuits. He spread before him an array of sketches and notes, renderings of medieval arches, intricate industrial patterns, and the mysterious symbols of the temporal convergence. Each drawing, each calculated line, bore the unmistakable mark of the ancient blueprint, a signature of the transcendent order that underpinned not only architecture, but the very structure of existence. Within the silent sanctuary of the library's hallowed halls, Thomas sat for long hours beneath a solitary beam of light. His eyes, once fixed solely upon the precision of design, now roamed freely across the margins of possibility. He traced the interlocking patterns of history and destiny, reconciling the contradictions of innovation and tradition. Here, amid dusty tomes and the quiet hum of contemplative thought, he came to understand that the legacy of the architects of old was not confined to the realm of physical structures. It was an inheritance of spirit, a call to safeguard the eternal principles that allowed beauty and order to emerge from the chaos of time. The city itself, too, seemed to acknowledge his transformation. As Thomas wandered back through the familiar lanes, he noted subtle changes, a renewed vibrancy in the aged stone of the colleges, a delicate luminescence that played upon the riverbanks, as if the very air were charged with latent meaning. In the reflective surfaces of ancient windows and in the rhythmic cadence of footsteps echoing across the quadrangles, he discerned a dialogue between past and present. Every element of Oxford had become a verse in the cosmic narrative, a testament to the enduring presence of the blueprint that had so long been hidden in plain sight. In a quiet courtyard behind an ivy-clad wall, Thomas paused before a venerable clock tower that had stood sentinel over the city for generations. The clock's slow, measured chimes resonated through the crisp air, each toll a reminder that time was both cyclic and eternal. In that resonant moment, he felt a convergence of destiny, a recognition that his path was inextricably linked to the preservation of the cosmic order. The gentle yet insistent rhythm of the chimes was like the heartbeat of the universe itself, a call to remain vigilant against the forces of entropy that threatened to unravel the delicate tapestry of time. Emboldened by this understanding, Thomas resolved to translate the cosmic synthesis of his experiences into a tangible legacy. With careful determination, he began to draft a series of treatises and architectural studies that would integrate the wisdom of the ancient blueprint with modern innovations. His writings were not mere technical manuals. They were meditations on the nature of beauty, order, and the boundless potential of human creativity. Each page he filled was imbued with the luminous insights he had gathered across eras, a vision of architecture as a living language, one that could bridge the chasm between the mortal and the eternal. In the months that followed, Oxford bore silent witness to Thomas's metamorphosis. The lecture halls of the university, once filled solely with the sterile language of calculation and design, now vibrated with the soulful resonance of the cosmic vision. His treatises, presented in elegant, flowing script, spoke of a harmonious unity, a vision in which every structure, every measured line of stone and steel, was a manifestation of an ancient, unfathomable order. As scholars and architects pored over his works, a quiet revolution began to take shape, a reawakening of a long-dormant belief that art and science, tradition and innovation, could converge into a single, transcendent truth. The legacy Thomas now embraced was not without its challenges. The forces that had stirred within the converged realms, the swirling anomalies of entropy, the gravitational pull of those mysterious, black hole-like vortices, remained as silent specters at the edges of his vision. They were a constant reminder that the balance between order and chaos was fragile, that every act of creation carried within it the seed of potential dissolution. Yet, with each new sketch, each carefully measured blueprint, Thomas reaffirmed his commitment to uphold the cosmic synthesis. He knew that the eternal laws of form and proportion were immutable, that even as human ingenuity shaped new eras, the underlying blueprint of the universe would endure. In quiet moments beneath Oxford's starlit sky, Thomas would often wander the ancient pathways of the city, lost in thought. The gentle murmur of the wind, the soft rustle of leaves, and the distant echo of the clock tower's chimes combined to create a symphony that spoke of destiny and time. In these solitary hours, he recalled the luminous corridors of the converged realm, the radiant instrument that had awakened his inner vision, and the profound communion he had experienced with the cosmic blueprint. These recollections were not relics of a past journey, but living embers that kindled his resolve to be a guardian of that ancient wisdom. The legacy of the architects who had come before him, and the promise of those who were yet to build, lay not solely in the edifices they had raised, but in the intangible harmony that bound them together. Thomas understood that his role was not to preserve the past as an immutable relic, but to allow its essence to flow into the future. In the quiet interplay between shadow and light, between stone and spirit, he found the courage to envision a new era, a time when architecture would not merely serve as shelter or decoration, but as a bridge to the eternal. His was a calling that transcended the limits of mortal ambition, a sacred duty to uphold the delicate balance between creation and dissolution, to ensure that the cosmic blueprint would continue to guide the evolution of human creativity through the endless march of time. Thus, with a steady heart and a mind awakened to the endless possibilities of the universal design, Thomas Everly dedicated himself to the pursuit of a truth that was both ancient and ever-renewing. Oxford, in all its storied grandeur, had become both his sanctuary and his canvas, a place where the silent language of the cosmos was inscribed in every stone, every arch, every whisper of the wind. And as he set pen to paper, drafting the treatises that would one day serve as a beacon for future generations, he did so with the quiet certainty that he was part of a continuum far greater than himself, a lineage of dreamers, architects, and visionaries united by the eternal call of the cosmic blueprint. In that moment of quiet resolve, beneath a sky where the stars shimmered like distant echoes of the ancient architects, Thomas embraced his destiny. The legacy of his journey was not measured by the structures he had witnessed or the epochs he had traversed, but by the spark of understanding that now burned within him, a luminous flame that would guide him and all who followed toward a future where the eternal language of beauty, proportion, and cosmic order would forever shape the destiny of mankind. At the break of a new dawn, Thomas found himself standing upon a gentle rise overlooking the timeless spires and cloisters of Oxford. The early light, soft and resolute, spilled over the ancient stone, bathing the city in a radiant glow. In that hushed moment, the myriad voices of the past, the solemn chants of medieval monks, the industrious hum of the modern age, and the visionary whispers of epics yet to be, merged into a single, harmonious chord. The cosmic blueprint, which had first beckoned him from the forgotten recesses of a dusty library, now resonated in every facet of his being, its immutable geometry woven into the very fabric of the universe. As he gazed over the familiar landscape, Thomas sensed that the swirling energies of the temporal vortex had calmed. The wild, converging streams of time had gradually coalesced into a serene order, as though the universe itself had drawn a deep, unifying breath. In the interplay of light and shadow across the venerable facades of Oxford's historic halls, he perceived a living testament to the eternal cycle of creation, decay, and renewal. Every arch, every carved stone, whispered secrets of a timeless harmony, a cosmic language that transcended the transient nature of mortal endeavors. In that moment of profound clarity, Thomas realized that his journey had never been solely about unearthing architectural mysteries or deciphering ancient symbols. It had been an odyssey toward understanding the deeper truth of existence, that the principles of proportion, balance, and beauty are not confined to the art of building, but are the very underpinnings of the cosmos. The blueprint he had followed was a manifestation of that universal order, a reminder that every structure, whether etched in aged stone or forged in the heat of modern industry, carries within it the spark of the divine. Emboldened by this revelation, Thomas approached the now dormant portal, a relic of his passage through the converged realms of time. With deliberate care and quiet reverence, he set about sealing the ancient gateway. This act was not one of finality but of transformation. By closing the portal, he was not ending his journey but rather safeguarding the cosmic balance. It was a symbolic gesture, ensuring that the wisdom of the past would continue to enlighten the future without succumbing to the chaos that unbridled energies might unleash. In sealing the passage, Thomas affirmed that the eternal cycle of creation was both protected and poised to inspire those who would come after him. As the portal's last shimmering embers faded into the soft light of morning, Oxford itself seemed to awaken to a renewed destiny. The old and the new, the tangible and the transcendent, coexisted in a renewed dialogue. The venerable clock tower tolled slowly, each measured chime a reminder of time's cyclical nature and the enduring rhythm of the universe. In the gentle cadence of these sounds, Thomas heard not an ending, but the prelude to an unceasing symphony, a song of hope, continuity, and the limitless potential of human creativity. In the days that followed, Thomas dedicated himself to sharing the luminous insights gleaned from his Odyssey. His treatises and architectural studies, now imbued with the clarity of cosmic understanding, became beacons for scholars, architects, and dreamers alike. Oxford's corridors, libraries, and lecture halls filled with a newfound vibrancy as the city embraced a renaissance of thought, a reawakening of the belief that art and science, tradition and innovation could converge into a single, transcendent truth. His writings, meticulous yet imbued with poetic depth, rekindled the ancient dialogue between humanity and the cosmos, ensuring that the eternal blueprint would continue to inspire generations. On quiet evenings, when the stars appeared to whisper secrets across the velvety sky, Thomas would wander through the familiar lanes of Oxford. In every ripple of the river Isis, every rustle of ivy on time-worn walls, he sensed the enduring pulse of the cosmic order. Each step he took was both a reminder of his personal journey and an affirmation of a grand, intergenerational legacy. A legacy that spoke of unity, resilience, and the eternal interplay between order and chaos. And so, as the final convergence of time, space, and spirit unfolded in a majestic silence, The narrative of the Oxford Vortex reached its apotheosis. Thomas Everley, once a solitary seeker of hidden truths, had become a guardian of a sacred and ancient wisdom. His journey, winding through the corridors of history and the luminous depths of the cosmos, had culminated not in an end, but in the blossoming of a new era of enlightenment. The cosmic blueprint, now an indelible part of his soul, shone as a guiding light for all who dared to dream beyond the confines of the known. In that sublime unity, the vortex found its closure, a final convergence that was not an ending at all, but the continuous unfolding of a cosmic symphony. A symphony that echoed through every age, every stone, and every heart that sought to embrace the sublime language of the universe. Thus, beneath the enduring gaze of ancient spires and the eternal chorus of celestial rhythms, the legacy of Thomas Everley and the secret architects of Oxford endured, a luminous beacon heralding a future where the timeless dance of creation, destruction, and rebirth would forever inspire the boundless potential of the human spirit.